let me ramble while I make breakfast because I forgot to wake up at a decent time, but not forgot. I just choose not to, and it's now 11, and I want eggs. So yeah. So let's ramble. Why don't we? So I basically thought, what should I ramble about this morning to you all? What about I rambled to you guys a little bit about my life? So, I'm originally from Las Vegas. And, you know, Vegas was nice, living in a place where everyone visits. Like, that's what Vegas is mostly popular for, is the visits from people all around the United States. Kind just like a place where people can basically be, then they can go to Vegas. And so I was like, okay, like we get our money from travelism. Well, so I was born in 2006. The great 2000s. And, things were okay, kind of growing up, but things are not perfect. Like, no one ever has, like, the perfect way of growing up. Like, I say that my parents raised me good. Like, that's all I have ever asked for is just me at least raising with a good family. Good family, and that's okay. So, when I started to remember stuff, I remember when my grandfather would come and, like, live with us, and I remember we had already 2 dogs, and one of them was Sam, the other one was Bandit, and then roughly around before my little sister was born, then we got another dog. And so his name is Boomer, or was Boomer. Trying to get fork. Oh, there's one. And so, yeah, and like, Boomer was a good dog. I think he was a golden retriever, I don't know. But, yeah. And like all of our dogs that we have got, then we got him fixed. So, the Brodos have balls. And then when he came home, then it came to roughly around the time when my little sister was born. And so I was like, sweet. And so I had a little sister was born. I was like, oh my gosh, yes! I remember going to see her with pigtails. And my hair was so bright red that, like, you could spot me from a mile away. And, like, I always will have her be called my little sister, little baby sister. Even though she's getting to that age right now where she's taller than me. Sad, but very short. But oh well, life happens. Easy. So as time goes on, when Nancy comes home, we end up losing Bandit. Bandit got sick, and I remember all of us going to the animal hospital and saying goodbye to him. And then after some time, we ended up moving into the house that I remember the most. Like, a lot of us kids' hardcore childhood memories was at this house. Like, yeah, Michael kind of was starting middle school when I was like kind of learning stuff for like preschool. Dad taught me and stuff, and like heck, my field trips was to the grocery store, which that to me was fun because then I got head right in the car and go wee. But yeah, and there have been some times where I would go to work with Dad and things like that. Because why not? My dad worked as a bellman at the Mirage Hotel before that all closed up and was teared to the ground. My mom, my whole life, have worked at Costco. So I jokingly told my mom one time, I'm like, hey Mom, when you ever retire from Costco, do you ever get your soul back? Because there's a joke that once you complete the paperwork and you're like officially employee at Costco, you sell your soul to the Costco devil or something. But yeah. And so my mom was laughing at that. And so as more time went on, then I started kindergarten. I don't remember much, but all I remember is that when it came to my birthday, the two girls that were the brattiest decided to come to my birthday. I hated that birthday party. And so then as more times go on, in first grade I met my BFF, and I was like, yay, I get to have a friend and everything. Her and I's friendship was so weird. Like, we would constantly get in arguments every day over the most stupidest things ever. Like, we would even have an argument of like who would be playing a fairy and who didn't get to be a fairy. We would literally have arguments about that. And so like it would not even last for a day. Our arguments will only last for like a little bit. And so again, as more time goes on, then we lost Sam. We also lose my grandpa's father. I remember my grandpa's father, and I even remember, and it's the grandfather that's on my dad's side. I even remember my grandmother, her from my mom's side. I remember her mother. So I remember two of my great grandparents. Now I can basically say that. And so, yeah, and that was definitely a very interesting time. I'm named after my great-grandfather's wife. Heck, she died 2 days to the day I was born. And yeah, and when it came to try to get some meat out of here. Okay. And so when it came to like the funeral and stuff, like I didn't know much because it was my first funeral that like I basically remember, because like yeah, I have been to like my grandma like Hayden's, my grandma York's, but I was just a baby. Like, I don't remember much. And so, yeah. And as more time goes on, then in second grade, we got a dog named Austin. He was a German. There was Husky. I think it was a German Shepherd Husky. I don't know. Probably. But he was just like a honey bear and everything. Like, he was just full of fluff and gas. Like, he could gas out a room very quickly. But, yeah. And as more time went on, my dad decided to get another dog. And so we got Gus. Ironically, Gus is not down here, because initially, Gussie is. Because that's how Gus is. But, yeah. And so, as more time goes on, I don't know why I'm speaking of that type of thing, but yeah. So then I got baptized when I turned 8, later on in second grade, which was fun. And then the summer I was going into third grade, then my older sister broke her arm when she was up in Utah, where I'm currently living at. But it was in Spanish Fork when she broke her arm on a scooter. And what was kind of interesting is that when the other day I was talking to my cousin, she said that scooter had officially broke. So, yeah, that thing is now in the trash. And so, as more time goes on, love the fact that I'm just like saying, as more time goes on, as like I'm talking, then I accidentally broke my arm. I was, you're trying to do that trick on the trampoline where you bounce on your butt and go back up. I was trying to do that, but on couch cushions, but that didn't go as planned. And so I ended up with a broken arm. My cast was all the way to right here. And so, yeah, basically I could just give a thumbs up. So, yeah. And then after some time, I did 1 year of choir in high school, and it was the only time that I could do it because choir in elementary was just 4th and 5th graders. So when the opportunity came to me in 4th grade, I'm like, I'm doing choir, and it was the best decision ever because we even went to nursing homes and we even sang to the elderly people, and I loved it. We were even singing stuff from like the 50s. But oh well. And they're like, I feel like we need a guitar. So I had a old guitar, electric guitar, that two of the strings were broken. And so I'm like, we can use my guitar. And so every day for choir, when it came to like practices and stuff, and I just like bring this in, like, here's the guitar. So yeah, it's definitely quite an eventful time. And then they got rid of it when I was going into 5th grade, and so I couldn't do choir again. And so I went touch base on choir for a long time. And in 4th grade was the last time I would have any sort of class with my best friend, Erica. Me and her, for the whole entire time when she was at the elementary school that her and I were at, then she was always in the same class as me. And so we're like, yay, they don't want to separate us besties. But she decided to go to a different school. And so I was friendless for a majority of 5th grade. And so I was just by myself majority of the time. And then along comes a Pika Pika. So my childhood best that I still talk to on the daily, like literally me and him were talking last night. He had a Pikachu jacket that he would wear all around campus at school. And it was a Pikachu jacket. He still has that jacket, by the way. He still has it. And so I was like, okay, hey, if I ever see you again, I'm going to steal that jacket. And he's like, okay, bet. And so as things went on and I met him, then we exchanged phone numbers before the end of 5th grade. And so throughout middle school, then me and him would just call each other on a house phone that I had. And I would either call his parent, his mom, if he was on his mom's weekend, or his dad, because his parents were divorced. And so, yeah, eventually I got an actual phone number, and then he got an actual phone number as well. And so me and him, I deleted his parents' phone numbers, and I just been talking to him on his phone. And yeah. Where is? I need a pan. Get the pan. But yeah. And so when it came to, I didn't get a phone until 7th grade. And in 7th grade, my dad decided to bring home, without permission from my mom, some puppies. So they were no other than my dogs, Jake and Bullet. The first dog he pulled out was Jake. Jake is my dog, technically. And technically Bullet's his little sister's. But he acts like he belongs to my mother. And my dog acts like he belongs to my brother. But yeah. And then later on that year, my grandfather died. In 6th grade, my great grandma died. So middle school was a lot of, like, every single grade year was a death. And in 8th grade, then things were kind of going into craziness, you know. Dad also died. COVID happened, you know. The day after my dad died, me and Antonio, like, saw each other for the first time since elementary. And so, yeah. And so, as we continued on, then, like, my dog Austin was getting this big tumor at the side of him, and it was likely cancer. And so we got it drained, and during the time when he had it drained, we had to cover it, and so we just had him wearing big shirts, and so it looked like we had a butterball from Buddies. And eventually we made the decision to move up here. So I said goodbye to Antonio in person one last time, said goodbye to some of my friends and family that I could get to at the time. And me and my family packed up and left in 2020. And eventually, as you know, things went on. Then the first week of us living up here, Austin, then his back legs were so paralyzed that he could barely even move. Like, heck, he was peeing on himself while laying upside down. And so I remember, like, when my mom left the house that we were staying in for a bit and came back with no fluffy boy. And so I was really, really devastated because, like, I lost my buddy. I lost the closest thing I could get to was snuggling to a bear. And yeah, and then eventually I started going to school at ALA. There I would do hip hop and things like that, like, kind of doing like the cool dance stuff. And there, like, I would talk to some friends that I kind of still talk to them here and there, but not as much, And then eventually in 9th grade, then I basically 9th? 10th. Sorry. And so in 10th grade, then I basically started dating. I wasn't expecting to date at 15. I started dating this guy named Jacob. Guess what his last name? Gitz. That should have been a red flag for me, because why do I want to be with a guy that wanted to be with me with the last name Gitz? Like, what is he getting? And here's the thing. I was in an emo phase from when I was in 8th grade to a little bit in high school. And he dated me when I was right in the middle of it, slowly but surely towards the end, and he didn't like the fact that I was girly. I'm naturally a tomboy, so, oh well. And then we broke up when we got back from winter break. And then eventually I told Antonio about it, and he's like, okay. And so him and I got talking. The dude been having a crush on me since, like, 5th grade. And he thought that he already went on a date with me to an ice skate rink in Vegas. And I'm like, no. Because trust me, I would have remembered. But apparently that was just a dream that he had. That he swears that was real. And so me and him dated for quite a long while. Like, we dated for 7 months. He was the longest relationship I was ever in. And then as more time went on, then we broke up. And then I switched schools. Then I was like, trying to find my own crowd. And then I got with one of my classmates. Apparently I didn't know that him and another kid that I was also friends with, that was his buddy, them two were having a full-blown fight of who gets this girl. And I didn't know this until afterwards. And so ever since then, like, the dude, then he's been hung up on me, and I'm like, and like when I broke up with him, I'm like, okay, I just told him honestly how I felt. And like, I told this dude, like, even a few months ago, I'm like, I don't feel like it's proper for you to be hanging out with me, especially the fact that you're trying to find, a girl and things like that. And I even told him that, like, the fact that you constantly was like, yeah, like, I want us two to go back to get back together. That was never happening. But yeah. And then I didn't date for a while, and then I was with Sean. Me and Sean met in middle school, and so me and him long distance dated. We broke up because I would try my best to call him and things like that, and he was also busy too. And so, I thought it was best because, we're both busy and stuff, that we couldn't handle our relationship. And so I'm like, hey, do you think it's a good idea that we should break up? And he's like, maybe. And so we broke up. And then after some time, I got asked out to prom, and the guy that I went to prom with, then him and I ended up dating, and he was a jock. So, yeah, and I broke up with him because it was just not a good situation. Went to FSY that summer, and then my senior year, then I was mostly single throughout the entirety. I decided to do choir again. So I did women's chorus, and then I did a dance class that our only performance that we had was towards the end of the year, and we were showing everyone the 3 dances that we learned. And then I would be dating one guy that was kind of a lot, he would lie a lot. And I don't know what he lied about majority throughout me and his relationship, so I just decided to break up with him because I don't want to be with a guy that is a liar. And then after him, then it was coming to the time when people were getting prom dates. And so I asked one of my buddies from FSY because he lived close by. And so he said yes. Heck, his mom got excited, but she was not in town that weekend. So his dad had to step in. And then we dated for a bit. Not even a month, And he broke up with me the week that I graduated. And, well, I mostly broke up with him because he just constantly wanted to have an argument. He kept on saying I was going to take away, his independence, that I was going to do this, that, and that. And I'm like, no. And so I just broke up with him because I didn't want to keep on dealing with that whole thing. And then eventually, I decided to, because I dyed my hair here and there throughout school, and I didn't really dye my full head because my mom wouldn't let me. Then eventually my mom gave up on telling us girls how to have our hair. And so I decided to dye my hair all black with purple. But I made the mistake of going to Wyoming with that hair. And after I broke up with that one guy, then me and Antonio got back together. And it was definitely a very, very interesting time. And as we were together and stuff, then I was, trying to figure out where I want to go with life. And so, as I figured things out, then I got my patriarchal blessing that you get as a member of the church. And like, he was not really fond of that because he's basically an atheist. Like, he didn't grow up religious at all. Like, none of his parents are religious. And as basically things went on, then we just broke up. And me and him, we agreed that we're never going back together again. And that we're just good as, friends. And it took us through, like, basically 3 years to figure that all out. And so, like, me and him, we still have a good friendship. As always. Though it was just, we had those feelings that we were, trying to test out. And so, as, like, things went on, then I, like, wasn't working and things like that. And so I was kind of just at home, like, just being to myself. And I decided to dye my hair all bright red. So, when I started my channel that year as well, then you guys if you guys, like, were, like, OGs and stuff, and heck, if you even look back at, like, some of my older videos, you would see that I had that red hair dye still in my hair. And then, as basically I go into the new year, then, like, I was still trying to figure things out, and eventually I did get a job. But before that, me and Sean got back together, and we were together for a while, And during that time, he actually moved to Wyoming. And so during that time, he was, like, still going to school because I'm older than him. And heck, he even saw me before me and him got back together. Like, he was going on his senior trip. And so then he saw me. So that was fun. And I remember I was like, okay, hey, this many days till I see Sean. This many days till I see Sean. I literally had a counter, like a little, like, countdown thing at my bedside table, like, counting down to the days. Like, heck, I would even, like, sing every day, like, how many days till I get to see Sean? It was a lot. And then when I saw him, like, I wanted to look my best because I didn't want to go out there looking like I'm from, like, the hood or anything, or morning breath. And so, like, I got myself, like, looking nice for the day. And, it was alright. I looked alright. Full face of makeup with hair done. That's basically how I did it. And then I would basically, when he came back, as he was heading his way back to Wyoming, then he stopped and saw me again, hand me a bracelet that was too big, so I had to put a hair tie around it, and this bracelet that his brother gave me. Which is crazy. It's crazy. I know. And so as, again, more time goes on, I would then eventually get a job. I would get a job at DI. Great job, by the way. And there I would be working for a long while. I'll continue talking to you guys because I'm kind of wrapping up the story. But basically, like, I would then take time off and I would go to Wyoming. But we were originally going to have his brother, me and a ex-friend of mine, before her and I had a bad falling out and everything else. Then we were supposed to go to Wyoming, but we didn't hear back from his brother, and because like we were talking about all these plans and everything, and he's like, yeah. Eventually, his brother just like stopped talking to us. Like, we had the room all ready and stuff, and when I like, let me call a friend. So one of my coworkers who I ended up being friends with, then his buddy, I also ended up being friends with, like helped us out. Like, I paid for his gas on our way over. It was really sweet. And so we had time with Sean's graduation, and it was like the best. It was a fun time. Though there was like some things like here and there that I just don't want to talk about. So yeah, and then after some time, then Sean, then he was like very focused on like, theater and things like that. Though I knew that he was going to be busy a lot, so I just didn't bother messaging him because I didn't want to seem like I was a burden. And so I'm like, okay. And he's like, I gotta be busy during these days. And he's like, I don't think I'll be able to call. And I'm like, okay. And so I didn't even text him during those days because I thought he would just need time to, like, focus on his lines and things like that. And then I broke up with him again. And it caused us to have, like, a falling out. He didn't talk to me. Like, he hasn't talked to me at all. Which, that's okay. Things in life happen. And then I got this together with this guy named James, which was Brand's buddy. And so me and James got together and stuff. And thought he was a really nice guy, Treat a girl right, That's what I thought. I was wrong. And he basically didn't want to be a man anymore, so he basically lied to my face, saying that he wanted to protect me, but he instead, because I got my buddy with my ex-friend, and she didn't like the fact that I was close with my buddy. I'm like, really? And so when in reality, he wanted to get with my buddy's girlfriend, and them two were roommates. Heck, his girlfriend moved in after, like, the week, pretty much probably the week that, like, I started, like, being single again. And she had my buddy block me. And he didn't know, like, what he was saying, and, like, things were said that I ended up hearing about. So, yeah, and then as more time goes on, then, like, I just hang out with, like, my friends and things like that. Trying to, like, not worry about a single thing. Whipped cream. But, yeah, and then my sister was engaged a lot. this past year. But not year. Well, yeah. And so, as things went on, then that's good alcohol. Anyways, then we basically, then I, when it came to her bachelorette party, that I met her friend Todd. Me and Todd hit it off, and you know what's crazy is that he was wearing this the day that I met him. Like, I even have a picture of him and of that day, and I was like, ee. And so, like, I already had all the bridesmaids' phone numbers. Heck, one of them I knew already, like, for the longest time, because, like, I went to school with him. He was at ALA. The other two, then they were, like, her roommates, and the other one, like, was one of her friends that I have already met. And so, yeah. And so we decided, us bridesmaids decided to help out my sister and, you know, make a murder mystery bachelorette party. And so we decided to have Halloween decorations and stuff. And so I just brought over mine. And, yeah, and as, like, things continued on, then I basically, then, like, the Charlie Kirk stuff happened the week after the bachelorette party. And so on Wednesday when that all happened, then I contacted Todd. And I'm like, because I knew he went to school at UVU. And so I'm like, hey, like, are you okay? Like, I heard everything at UVU. I just want to make sure that you're okay. So me and him, we talked for, like, a long while. And then we even talked, like, the day after. Like, we talked on a Thursday, and then we even talked on, like, a Friday, which was the day of the wedding. And so we talked and everything, and basically, like, we hung out the entire time, like, between the temple and the wedding itself, like, with all friends and family. And as, like, things go on and stuff, like, me and him we're holding hands and things like that. Like, it was so much fun. And later that night, because he got me some Sodalicious, which is a soda place that's, like, one of the many that is here in Utah. He got me Sodalicious, and I'm like, after the wedding, then I'll get you McDonald's. And he's like, okay, bet. And so we got McDonald's, and we went to the park close by, and basically, like, we then went to the park, we walked around and, like, talked, and I tagged him, took off running. I wasn't expecting him to run after me, but he did. He tackled me to the ground, and I go, so what are you gonna do? He gets me. So, yeah, and then the next day we hung out, and, like, we kissed again, and things like that. And so we decided to become boyfriend and girlfriend that day. And we basically hung out every single day. Except for, like, Wednesdays, because that's when he, like, will, like, take time and, like, have, like, the day to himself. And so I'm like, okay. And, like, it was very fun. And what's even crazy is that the day that me and Todd got together was the day that my buddy, hey Brandon, who basically his girlfriend had him block me, then he ended up leaving that relationship a week before he even saw me, and even leaving the house. And so he basically wanted to see me, and so he apologized to me and talked and everything. So it was definitely a very interesting time. And then, like, things were pretty great, and then I got a different job. And then a little bit into this new job, then things were tough between me and Todd. Like, school was killing him, it felt like, and like I was like struggling trying to like make it to work on time. And so then me and him broke up. But I still saw him, like he was still able to like help me like get to work. Heck, even when my schedule did a whole like change and I was then part of the openers, then he would like pick me up from work and things like that. And so like that was alright. And then I decided to quit my job in December because management was interesting. I'm not going to go into full detail. And then been single since then. And I asked Todd because like me and continue like to snuggle and kiss and things like that. And so then I talked to him. I'm like, do you want to get back together? And he's like, let me think about it. And we've been on no contact since then. Like, yeah, we talked here and there, and that's just like if he forgot something or I need to tell him something. So yeah, and then I went on a date this past week. Did not go as planned. Bro is crazy. And I talked to my brother-in-law about it, and he's like, yeah, you don't want to be in that relationship. And so I'm possibly going to be dating one of my buddies, MJ. So yeah. And with that, then I'm also like still trying to figure out like where I want to be with life. So yeah. So this is all gonna be quite an interesting journey. And also, I'm possibly diabetic, but we don't know. I haven't been tested. But yeah. So that's my ramble for currently right now. But yeah. Let me know if you guys want to hear more of me rambling. And then, I could just ramble on and on. This is the longest ramble I have ever documented. So, yeah. Anyways, love you guys. Talk to you guys later. I'm gonna finish up my brunch and definitely gonna get dressed for the day. Anyways, bye guys.